WitchSpring R is officially launching onto the Nintendo Switch on spring of 2024, and today I'm going to provide you guys with a little bit of an introduction to this game, since there's a lot more than meets the eye, especially when it comes to gameplay and gameplay elements that this game tries to introduce. First and foremost, it launched on PC back on September of 26th of earlier this year, to relatively positive reviews back on Steam on PC. This game is currently not available on PlayStation or Xbox consoles, so it is a little bit of a surprise that the developers Pixmane and KiwiWalks decided to basically announce that the Nintendo Switch will be the next targeted console in spring of next year. But it shouldn't come to too much of a surprise, since WitchSpring 3 refined their previous work already launched onto the Nintendo Switch about 2 to 3 years ago, I want to say, to somewhat decent success as a strategy RPG and traditional RPG mechanics. So ultimately, I think this game is probably going to do very well on the Nintendo Switch for those very reasons. If you don't necessarily know, WitchSpring R is a story-based RPG that combines elements of training, collecting, and exploring. If you've played any of the Atelier games, like Atelier Ryza, for example, which was really popular onto the Nintendo Switch about 2 years ago when it originally came out, you would know that this game is relatively similar in that regard. Alchemy, crafting, very cutesy visuals, and of course, lots and lots of RPG goodness. Outside of what you can continually enjoy, collecting magical ingredients is key. Fighting against warriors and even monsters is also part of your journey, and developing stories and various characters is part of the course. At home, you can enjoy training on your own by scheduling training sessions, fusing magic, getting brand new ingredients, and collecting things from the field. The Witch's ending is enriched by the player's choice as the witches grow. WitchSpring 3 originally had a lot of options for you to be able to kind of like level up your character in any way that you wanted, and WitchSpring R, this brand new release, is basically doubling that. So a lot of brand new training options have become available. Some of them that they mention here are things like running, meditation, swimming. Essentially train your witch through various training exercises to become more physically powerful. But also by fusing collected magic ingredients, you can create tools to increase your witch's stats. So not only do you get plenty of materials through, of course, gathering and crafting, but of course trading as well will get you some relatively rarer magic ingredients, which you can then repurpose for other like stat boosting elements. They also mentioned that add nourishments to your weapons for achieving advancement in your ideal areas. Create your own battling styles and become more powerful. So essentially they're saying that the weapon that you wield is something that you are gonna definitely want to keep updated as much as possible, because once again, it is your primary means to be able to do damage onto enemies. They also mentioned that collecting in a variety of magical tools, powers, and different pets will be at your availability. Create items by fusing magic ingredients that can be collected all over the forest. This doesn't just limit it to like crafting potions or bombs or things that can be used against enemies. It also, like weapons, it can go for your armor as well. Utilize different magical properties to engage in strategic battles. If you know anything about the Atelier franchise, you know that a lot of enemies are specialized into specific elements, and this game takes a lot of those same ideas but puts them on its head. So you certainly want to take advantage of elemental weaknesses for some of the monsters or enemies you might be fighting, especially bosses. But you also need to make sure that you have proper resistances for said bosses, which will be trying to take advantage of your weaknesses as well. They also mentioned that tame the monsters and make them your pets. You can also get help from the field and whenever you're in battle. Now in this game, there's a little bit of a Pokemon thing happening here, where you can essentially get pets to kind of become trainable as well. In the previous games, I believe there were dolls that you were like kind of making and crafting Lore-wise, I don't necessarily remember if these are brand new, like just normal wild beasts or just things that you're ultimately training, but you will have assistance in a battle for those pets that you basically decide to train up and make more powerful. Lastly, in their blog update, they mentioned that enjoy a story-based adventure. Progress the story and train Peerberry while exploring out on the field. A field of enemies or a field of friends. Discover hidden stories through the interactions with the field characters. Now, this is one of the original criticisms that we got to see for WitchSpring 3, which was essentially not a lot of interactions with some of the characters there within. But this time around, the developers took that into consideration, and they are making the field characters, essentially the characters that are not necessarily big pivotal parts of the story, play a little bit of a bigger role this time around and kind of guide you as to what it is that you should be doing, and perhaps even as to where you should go. They also mentioned that sometimes you can even disguise yourself as a human to invade the village. Now remember, because she is viewed as a witch, they don't necessarily see her as a hope. So ultimately, trying to make your way into town, it can be hindered based on some of the actions that you decide to take. So ultimately, you will be able to kind of like disguise yourself to get ahead. Now, ultimately, heading into the launch of the PC game, there were a lot of questions regarding like the localization efforts for this game. I believe originally on the Steam reviews, a lot of them mentioned that the translation situation was a little bit iffy, and that is because ultimately I believe they translated the game into like Korean, Japanese, traditional Chinese, English, Spanish, multiple other languages as well, all around the same time heading into launch. And this is a about 30-hour story, so there was a lot of work being done there. Some corners were cut allegedly by some of the reviews there on Steam, so they basically said that the translation wasn't necessarily good. The developers have said that the English version for the console release, specifically this Nintendo Switch version, will be reworked. It will be revamped, and basically it will be done properly. So hopefully that is one of those idiosyncrasies or issues that what we saw with the PC release hopefully be addressed. Another one was controls. PC release has some issues with the controls. Now, of course, the Nintendo Switch doesn't have mouse controls or keyboard or anything like that. It can support it, but that's not how you typically play it. So presumably those controls will be reworked, of course, for the console release and when this game launches onto Nintendo Switch, and presumably PlayStation consoles and Xbox later in 2024. By that point, all of those issues will be ironed out. I will remind you guys though that on Steam it has extremely positive reviews, so it wouldn't surprise me here that this launches in a pretty good state and players end up having an amazing time. But that's about all the information that I have for you guys today regarding WitchSpring R, which is launching onto the Nintendo Switch and already on PC next spring. If you're brand new to my channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, hit the bell to receive notifications when the videos go up, and as always, thank you so much for watching. See ya.